Welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories with your host, Brian Davis. This podcast is the cure for your long commute and super boring workday.
Well, I just wanted to look into your blue eyes again.
They're brown.
Men been giving you a little trouble?
Nothing but.
Damn it, Bobby Jack, why were you never ever as good on your feet as you were in bed?
What do you do?
You asking me about my sex life?
Yes, I am.
I divorced you.
Yeah, and I saw you crying on the courthouse steps.
Big deal.
I don't know why she took you in the house. I fed you down with the dogs.
Now, I'm trying to get smarter.
You having any luck?
Caught you looking.
What do the ladies in town say?
They think 3 is a real interesting number.
I'm 33 years old and I'm living like a nun.
Columbia Pictures presents Sally Field, James Garner,
What'll I do with my life, Murphy?
Murphy's Romance.
Hey there, it's Brian Davis, and for this week we're going to cover the movie Murphy's Romance from 1985. The studio was Columbia Pictures, release date was Christmas Day, December 25th, 1985. The running time 107 minutes and it was rated PG-13. The budget, $13 million. The box office took in $31 million, making it the 29th ranked movie of 1985. Roger Ebert at the time gave it 3 out of 4 stars. Here's his review. The whole point of Murphy's Romance is how it looks at its main characters and listens to them and allows them to live in a specific time and place. If they knew what we know, it would spoil all the fun as they flirt and pout and spar and circle each other. Murphy is quite a guy. He figures he has a lot of knowledge about human nature, and he's not shy about sharing it. He doesn't take himself too seriously, but he likes to pretend that he does. He speaks thoughtfully, moves deliberately, and lets you know what a character he is by parking his mint-condition 1928 Studebaker in front of his drugstore. James Garner plays this character in more or less his usual acting style, but he has been given such quietly offbeat dialogue by the screenwriters, Harriet Frank Jr. and Irving Ravetech, that it comes across as a true original. Sally Field is also not particularly original in her approach to the character of Emma, who is a close relative of other Field heroines, plucky, quietly sensible, in the face of calamity. Originality is not called for in this performance anyway. It would have been a mistake to turn Emma into a colorful character, instead of letting her proceed at her own speed. Then comes the ending, which is one of the most carefully and loving written passages in any recent movie. Much depends on exactly what Emma and Murphy say to each other, and how they say it, and what they don't say, and the movie gets it all right. Murphy's Romance was directed by Martin Ritt, who also directed Fields' Oscar-winning performance in Norma Rae, and worked with her again in the less-than-successful Back Roads. Ritt specializes in movies about the rural South and Southwest. His credits also include Sounder, HUD, and Conrack. And one of the strengths of Murphy's Romance is the freedom he feels to simply pause occasionally. 2 examples. Listen carefully to the man who calls the bingo numbers, and the old man Murphy gives a lift to one day. They have particular voices and deliberate word choices, and they seem completely authentic. So, to a surprising degree, does the movie. And that's the end of Ebert's review. Now, Murphy's Romance was a favorite of my parents when it was first released, and they still rave about the film today. It's a type of movie that was a bit too mature for me as a kid, because Back to the Future, Airplane, Ferris Bueller, and the Blues Brothers were the types of movies that really caught my fancy at that age, which was 7 or 8. Now, over the years, I've grown to love Murphy's Romance, and the reason is simple. The film means more to grown-ups than kids. And while I've always enjoyed the performance of James Garner and Sally Field, even at a young age, the story itself means more when you get older. Okay, let's get into the main cast. Sally Field plays Emma. Amazingly, this is the first Sally Field movie I've covered. By 1985, she was a household name and still considered one of the finest actresses in film history. Her career began in the mid-1960s on the TV version of Gidget, and that lasted a few years. She then continued her TV career with TV movies and another show called The Flying Nun. She gained acclaim in 1976 for her portrayal of a woman with many different personalities called Sybil. The next year, her film career really took off, and no pun intended. It was with the enormous hit Smokey and the Bandit with Burt Reynolds. She'd co-star with Reynolds again a year later in Hooper, and then she'd win an Oscar for Best Actress for Norma Rae. Other notable films prior to Murphy's Romance include Smokey and the Bandit 2, Absence of Malice with Paul Newman, which we will cover at some point, and Places in the Heart, where she won yet another Oscar and gave the speech which is still very much remembered today.
And I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right now, you like me.
So just for some context, the reason she said this was due to her early career, which included the fluff I just mentioned, like Gidget and the Flying Nun. James Garner plays Murphy. Now, we've kind of been on a Garner kick lately, so no need to recap his career. You can go back and listen to those episodes. In 1985, this would be a few years after his incredibly successful run on The Rockford Files on television. In 1984, he starred in the movie Tank, which I also saw at the drive-in with my parents, I think as a double feature. It might have been Rocky III. With C. Thomas Howell and Jenny Lee Harrison, I do own it. We'll cover it at some point. The director, Martin Ritt. Now, this would be one of the last films Ritt directed because he would die 5 years later at the age of 76. Now, Ebert mentioned Ritt's most famous films prior to Murphy's Romance, and his last two films would be Nuts in 1987 with Barbra Streisand, and then Stanley and Iris with Jane Fonda and Robert De Niro. Okay, let's get into the making of the film. So it was based on a novel from 1980 by Max Schott, and it has an entirely different outcome than the film. Now, even though James Garner had a lot of success making movies in the 1960s and early 70s, he was viewed solely as a TV actor by the mid-1980s. Now, keep in mind, prior to the last maybe 20 years, there were definitely distinctions between a TV actor and a movie actor when it came to landing roles. And back then, TV actors didn't get high-profile movie roles. Because of this, Martin Ritt and Sally Field had to really push Columbia to cast Garner as Murphy. Columbia was so apprehensive about making the film because it didn't have any sex or violence. Again, in 1985, those were big sellers in film. Columbia finally relented when it realized that Field was clearly a bankable movie star due to her recent past box office successes, along with the writing team that adapted the film. So the film opens up with Emma Moriarty, that's Sally Field, and her 12-year-old son Jake, played by Corey Haim. And they're driving a pickup truck loaded with all their belongings, and they're moving to a new town in rural Arizona. Emma is a divorced single mother. The main theme of the film plays, and just so you know, all the songs in the film were written by Carole King, and she performs most of them as well. The ranch property is large, but the house and the barn are fixer-uppers to say the least. And right off the bat, we get a montage of Emma fixing up the property, pretty much by herself, though Jake does help out. Emma wants to earn a living by boarding and training horses on her property, as she fixes up the ranch to accommodate horses. She places flyers all over town and on every car she sees. While placing flyers, she meets Murphy Jones, played by James Garner, who owns a small pharmacy. Murphy's Pharmacy is like an old-style store, where there's a dining counter where you can order drinks and milkshakes. Emma orders a soda and gets to know Murphy, who has lived in the same town his entire life.
Lady, you're covering up my causes.
Oh. Can I put it in your window?
Let me see what it is. I'm for free enterprise. Put it on.
Thanks.
Murphy's Pharmacy. I'll have the banana split. I know I won't. I'll have a Coke.
Coke?
Lemon Coke. Is that no lemon?
It is. I grow them in my backyard.
Mrs. Radcliffe says her cough isn't any better.
Well, tell her to call the doctor.
She wants more cough medicine.
Well, don't send it to her. She's drinking it for the alcohol.
You lived here long?
All my life.
You like it?
Well, I must have, or I wouldn't have stayed.
What kind of town is this?
Oh, it's small, friendly, nosy. You can carry a gun, but you can't get an abortion.
I don't want to do either.
Morning, Murph. How's it going?
Morning, Leroy. Just fine. Where do you come from?
This time, Modesto, California.
Then you know the rules.
The rules? You like keep your front room picked up? Don't sit around in your bathrobe after 10 o'clock in the morning. Don't mess with a married man.
That's part of it. The rest of it is, we got a Rhodes Scholar, we got a homosexual, we've got marijuana growing in with the tomatoes. We've got a man who wears his wife's nightgown. We're in the mainstream.
Actually, not yet. Just today I got called honey, Missy, and I think there was a little lady in there somewhere.
Well, they're not too familiar with the ERA. It's consciousness raising you're looking for. You'll have to head east.
How much do I owe you?
Give me 35 cents. And you don't have to tip me. I own the place.
I wasn't going to. See you around.
But yes, ma'am.
Emma and Jake walk around town one night after grabbing dinner. They find Murphy at a local club performing and playing his fiddle. After performing, he comes outside and chats with Emma and Jake.
This your boy?
Yeah, this is my boy Jake.
Murphy Joe.
Hi.
Pleased to meet you, son.
You moonlighting?
Oh, no. We just let off a little steam on the weekends. Me and the high school principal and the basketball coach whenever he can get over from Winslow. You going to Pearson Junior High?
Yes, sir.
Well, I went there. Back in the dark ages.
Well, you don't look like you go back that far.
Oh, lady, I'm a granddaddy. I got a 4-year-old grandson named after me.
Hello there, Murphy.
Margaret, how are you?
Coming over to play bridge on Wednesday?
No, I'm sorry, I can't. Edith Hollis is making me spaghetti. Besides, you and Warner fight too damn much over the bidding.
Well, all right for you.
Looks like you don't watch much late-night television.
No, I'm pretty well booked up. See, I'm a widower. That's the same as catnip to a cat. A town where the ladies outnumber you 10 to 1. Yeah. Looks like everybody's been to the restroom. I better get back. Good night, son.
What's sort of refreshing about this film watching it today is the deliberate pace in which it flows. And what I mean by this is there are simple scenes that would just not be included in today's films. For example, like Emma playing cards with Jake one night as she casually hums while sorting her cards to the frustration of Jake. She eventually reveals that she has gin, and then realizes it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and she apologizes for keeping Jake up so late. Now, the reason this scene is interesting is because it shows that the two only have each other. But it's not really a scene with any sort of drama. It's just a mother and son on a typical day. It's really a great scene for the character development. Each day, it seems like Emma runs into Murphy when she's running errands. Granted, it's a small town, and we also get a funny scene where Emma is applying for a business license at City Hall, and Murphy comes in to pay off all of his parking tickets because he refuses to move his vintage car from in front of his store.
Have you ever had a business license before?
No.
Well, it'll take me a few minutes to type up the papers. Just sit down over there and no smoking.
We've been waiting for you, Murphy. We've got a warrant out for you.
Don't heat up, Jesse. I got the money right here. That's 22 tickets at $10 apiece. That's $220.
22 tickets in 22 days? Doesn't make sense.
Does to me.
Murphy, why don't you move the car?
Why don't you move the damn parking meter, Jesse?
I've talked to the town council. They won't do it. They want the parking meter there.
Then we're going to be seeing a lot of each other.
Mrs. Moriarty.
I'll take you down here, Mr. Stevens.
Why are you doing this, Murphy? You having a nervous breakdown or something?
If it were my dog, I'd tie it up out front, go out and give it some water, pat on the head, same thing.
It's a car, Murphy.
It's an inheritance. It's a family heirloom, and I'm damn well going to keep my eye on it. They've stolen my hubcaps, they've taken my tires, they've unscrewed my Venus. I'm not going to stand still for that.
Put in a supply of quarters, Murphy. You're beaten.
I've got a proposal. You take out the meter, and I'll put in a tree, nice, big, full-grown one. It'll provide shade, it'll cut down on acid rain, give the dog something to lift a leg against. Tell that to your city council. Some more area?
Mr. Jones. So what are you, the town oddball?
When I'm pushed, I shove.
Don't you know you can't fight City Hall?
Can wrestle them.
There's always a twinkle in his eye when he drops this sort of wisdom, and before you know it, the parking meter is being taken out and a nice tree is planted in its place. Next, Emma tries to obtain a loan from the bank to start her business.
You're not a good risk. There's no husband on the scene to co-sign. There's no collateral. You're renting, you're paying on your truck. I don't see any assets.
I'm the asset. I've been working ranches all my life. I didn't know what hair curlers were till after I was 16 years old.
You're a woman.
You mean to tell me if there were a fly on these pants instead of a zipper, I'd get the loan?
You'd have a better chance.
I'd go out on the streets, but you've only got one.
Frustrated, Emma stops by Murphy's store for some aspirin and some venting.
Morning.
Is it?
Well, no new country was invaded today, and the sun's out. I'll settle for that.
Are you always this cheerful so early in the morning?
If I eat my prunes and the market edges up.
Well, some of us aren't in the market. Some of us are just in the soup.
Something wrong?
Could I have 2 extra strength Tylenol and a glass of water, please?
Sure.
How do you open this stupid thing?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, there's a lot of flu going around.
Yeah, well, I hope I catch it. And die.
What's wrong?
I need a loan, and I can't get one. Hey, you're a big man in this town, aren't you?
Well, I have to pay my parking tickets.
How'd you like to loan me some money?
No,
Oh, well, that was real friendly.
we're not friends. I don't know you. I don't know your character.
Well, it's just like anybody else's. It's good sometimes, it's bad sometimes, but I tell you, I'm up every morning at dawn. I don't quit till it's dark. I've worked goddamn hard for all these calluses.
I'm carrying these people on my books. Now, Helen Taylor was taken off Medicare because they weren't quite sure whether she needed a wheelchair for a broken back. Now, Andy Stern, he was fired 2 days before his pension started, after 30 years with the company. The tire company moved out and welched on their health contract. Stu Hansen still needs digitalis. You're way down the line.
I have an uncle in Dallas that would call you a bleeding heart liberal.
Lady, I don't give a diddly shit what they call me. And I don't know if the organ is bleeding or not, but according to my EKG, I've got one.
Well, I guess that's that.
Sorry that I can't make you the loan. I am on the volunteer fire department. If your barn burns, you'll see me.
Well, it just might. For the insurance.
Jake goes to town to try to find any job that will hire him, from a bagger to a paperboy, but no luck. Jake stops at Murphy's and asks if he can wash his car for him. Murphy says that only he touches that car, but decides to show Jake the ins and outs of his vintage 1928 Studebaker, which is in pristine condition. He then takes Jake for a ride in the country, much to the excitement of Jake. They end up picking up an older man in his late 80s who asks for a ride and then complains he's driving too damn fast. Keep in mind, the car only goes 30 miles an hour. The man decides to walk the rest of the way. Murphy and Jake return to the store, and Murphy tells Jake to show up at 5 p.m. every day to the store and wash glasses, and he'll pay Jake $3 an hour. And Jake is thrilled with the job opportunity. Emma sees Murphy at the horse auction and thanks Murphy for giving Jake a job. While looking at each of the horses being auctioned, Emma has an uncanny knack of finding the flaws with each horse to the amazement of Murphy. Emma finds a horse worth bidding on and Murphy wins the auction for $1,000. Emma jokingly tells Murphy that he's got $1,000 for a horse but no money for a loan. She then asks where he's going to keep the horse, and Murphy casually says, "With you." Emma officially has her first client. We then get a montage of Emma training her horse with Murphy looking on. One day, Emma is driving back from town with some groceries, and an idiot teenager in a Firebird is trying to race Emma. She tells him to go around, and when he does, he cuts in front of her and she crashes into a ditch and hits her head. The kid is immediately remorseful, but the worst part, he's not insured.
You having a little cry? What for?
It costs $3 for an aspirin tablet in here. $3. They're charging me $150 a night. My head hurts. Take your choice.
Here, blow your nose.
It cost $1 for that.
Well, you can pay for it. Things are picking up out your place.
Yeah, how come?
I put the word out. There's a mare chomping hay in your barn right this minute. Albert Salsville's. Jim Forrest came by. He left bay. And Coverly, Freeman, yeah, he left a runty little piebald with you. Oh, looks like the main line's busted.
It'll be over in a minute.
I'll wait.
I guess I'm just feeling a little sorry for myself.
I'll listen if you want to talk.
I've been sitting here thinking I'm raising this kid all by myself, probably making all these mistakes, and he's gonna be ruined. I have a concussion. I'm 33 years old and I'm living like a nun.
Let's take a little walk down the hall and calm you down.
I don't want to.
Well, let's do it anyway.
I don't want
Come on. Come on, just throw your feet out here. Once around. Are these your slippers?
Yes.
All right, there. Now, put your feet down. Don't set any records or anything. We'll just go nice and easy. Let's review your troubles. You're raising a kid. You're doing a good job. He washes his hands after he goes to the bathroom, I noticed. And your concussion is mild, I asked the doctor. You're 33? That's seasoned, but not sagging. You're living like a nun. Next time you're asked, say yes.
What do you do?
You asking me about my sex life?
Yes, I am.
Every once in a while I go up to Phoenix and there's a lady there that gives me dinner and breakfast.
I wondered.
Did you now?
Any of them yours?
I told you I go out of town. Now, you feeling better?
Yes.
I think you're gonna make it. I mean, your color's good, prospects are good, and Christmas is coming. You got only one problem.
What?
That hospital nightshirt you're wearing. It's open all the way down the back. I came in to get my allergy shots for my asthma.
Well, thanks a lot for telling me. Why didn't you just parade me up and down Main Street?
Again, the beauty of this film is its everyday simplicity. It's just like regular people living a normal life. When Emma returns from the hospital, she gets a surprise. Her ex-husband, Bobby Jack, played by Brian Kerwin, is sitting on her front porch. Now, this does not please Emma in the slightest, as Bobby Jack is a complete swindler and likely looking for some sort of handout, which Emma definitely does not have, nor would want to provide. However, Bobby Jack plays on Emma's sympathies by telling her his dad has died. Then Jake arrives home from school and he's excited to see his father. While Emma is initially happy that Jake is happy to see his father, her mood quickly sours when Bobby Jack says he's back to stay. Bobby Jack does everything possible to try to woo Emma and convince that he's a changed man, but Emma simply does not buy it. She's 33 years old now, and the teenage charm from when they first met simply isn't going to work now. However, she knows that Jake needs some sort of male influence, and Bobby Jack is the father, so she apprehensively gives Bobby Jack another chance to try to change his ways, even though they're divorced, and Bobby Jack moves into the house. To Murphy's surprise, he meets the husband the next day in the stable after Bobby Jack mistakes him as a hired hand. As you might imagine, Bobby Jack is an arrogant and a pompous ass, and he has very little substance to him. Murphy isn't amused by him at all. Emma puts Bobby Jack to work at the ranch, and the city boy is less than enthused, thinking he could just waltz back into her life like he always has without putting in any effort. He even tries to fix the toilet that ends up leaking all over the house. That fails miserably, and Murphy ends up fixing it for Emma. The problem? Someone threw a cigar butt down the toilet, which caused the backup. Guess who? Every night, Emma invites Murphy for dinner, and Murphy always accepts, which never pleases Bobby Jack. But it's not his house, after all. And when it comes to intelligent conversation, Bobby Jack can't hold a candle to Murphy with all of his stories and his casual wit. One night after dinner, Emma invites Murphy to a friendly game of cards with Jake and Bobby Jack. And things are going fine, until Murphy catches Bobby Jack subtly cheating. Murphy, in his always classy but firm way, casually asks Bobby Jack to chat on the porch.
Mister, I didn't care to speak in front of your boy, but you're cheating. You're dealing off the bottom of the deck. We're only playing for matchsticks.
Yeah, well, I'm usually playing for eating money. I guess I picked up a bad habit.
Lose it while you're around here.
Well, wait, what are you going to tell him about coming out here?
Tell him we had a pissing contest and you won.
We also catch Bobby Jack taking money from Emma's wallet while she's sleeping. Nothing has changed. Bobby Jack uses the money he stole to buy Jake a cowboy hat, and then gives the impression to Jake that it's his money. Of course, while buying the hat, they run into Murphy, who gives Jake some tips about how to wear a cowboy hat. They go to the movies after, which is a slasher film. I think it's Friday the 13th Part 3, since we hear the Jason sound effect. Murphy's not amused with the film, and he walks out halfway through the film.
I worked in a slaughterhouse one summer. Don't have to pay good money to see it again.
Sure was a lot of blood.
Oh, they use ketchup. You know, they fake everything out there. Want a lifesaver?
I saw what my dad did while we were playing cards.
Maybe it's a good thing you did.
He did it twice.
Take after him or not, it's up to you. You're sure getting a good look at the sky tonight.
See that? It's North Star. In the old days, before they had compasses or sextants or anything, they crossed the whole ocean just by following that.
Isn't that remarkable?
Ugh. Sick to my stomach. $3 for human hamburger.
Have a mint.
Thanks. What's going on over there?
Thursday night bingo.
Bingo? You're kidding. That's great. You think you could get us in? I'd love to do something for fun.
I paid my dues. I guess I can. Come on. I like bingo. I never won it at it, but I like bingo.
Oh, 72. 7-2. D. 11. A 1. A 1. H. 43.
We're playing Hango?
N. 43. 4. 3.
I got it. Bingo.
Mr. closed at about 1. Where was the 6?
Yeah, there's plenty of time. I'm not even close.
N42, G47, and 069. It's all correct. He's a winner.
Are there any other winners? If not, I declare this game completed. Jonas, you won $68. You can buy your wife some black stockings.
Going in the bank.
Ladies and gentlemen, there'll be a 5-minute break. The bar's open.
Be right back.
Hi.
Hi.
Sure is hot in there. I guess it's just my time of life.
No, it's hot.
You know, I think Murphy's gaining weight. You must be a good cook.
Well, I wouldn't win any contests.
Well, probably just comes up to your place with company. He sure seems cheered up.
I've never seen him down.
Oh, honey, that man was a wreck. Was drunk the first year. Never spoke to a soul the second. Crazy about his wife.
Was she sick for very long?
Not a day in her life. She just turned around to say something to him, and she dropped dead.
Oh, 72. 7, 2. 7, 2. I, a 19.
You don't have
A 1, a 9.
Okay.
And 40. 4.
Worst
Oh,
Terrible.
Oh, wait, I have that.
Oh, 75. 7, 5.
Oh, I have this.
And 37.
Don't have
3, a 7.
Bingo! Bingo! I got bingo!
Henry, check the little lady.
What do I get? What do I get?
Wait a minute, honey. We gotta be sure you're the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got N36.
In 3-6.
N37.
In 3-7.
The free spot.
The free spot.
N40, N40, and N35. She's got them all, Henry.
I've got them all. I've got them all.
Are there any other winners? If not, I declare this game completed.
How much did I win?
Well, ma'am, the biggest part of the night,
Yeah.
$200.
Oh my God!
Oh, I'm gonna have to bring you here more often.
Now, where did you guys go? You missed the best part. That guy got it right in the forehead with a hatchet. It split his skull like a melon. It was so great.
I won.
What?
I won $200 at Tic Tac Bingo, just like that. I won.
Are you kidding me?
It makes up for the money that somehow got itself lost out of my purse.
Oh, that's great. Now I'm running a little short. Could you loan me 20?
What a scumbag. In another scumbag move, Bobby Jack decides to invite the whole town over to the ranch to celebrate his wedding anniversary to Emma, which of course she no longer celebrates. Things finally come to a head during the party.
What kind of husband were you, Murphy?
Well, I don't know that I was so easy to live with. I don't demonstrate everything I feel. I am stubborn. I was a little tight about money.
They say if you have one good marriage, you can have another.
They're rare.
I know.
I was a little surprised to find a woman in love with me.
Why, don't you like yourself?
Yes, I do. I just didn't expect it to be contagious.
You're a big help in the kitchen.
finish those dishes, Dad?
Still at it, son.
You two got a lot to talk about, don't you, Dad?
We exchange a few words, son.
You know what I think, Dad?
If we sever this family relationship, I'm not your dad. I wouldn't be too happy if I were.
I think you're banging Emma.
Bang. And have an ugly expression for that particular pleasure.
How about fucking?
I don't like that one a whole lot better.
Yeah, but that's what's going on, isn't it?
If I'd had that privilege, I wouldn't be taking it up with you over a garbage can.
Well, I'm taking it up with you.
You are a miserable little son of a bitch. You know that? I don't know why she took you in the house. I'd bed you down with the dogs. And I'll tell you something else, mister. You may be a lot younger and stronger, but you're about to get your ass kicked from here to the state line. And I'm wearing the boots that can do it.
You're a feisty old booger, aren't you?
I thought we just settled that.
I love it. James Garner is just so perfect in this role, and for that matter, so is Sally Field. By the way, that last scene was the reason the movie got a PG-13 rating instead of PG. All right, there's about 30 minutes left, and by now, if you haven't seen the film, you really need to. Will Emma continue to let Bobby Jack freeload off her because she wants Jake to have a father around? Or will Emma and Murphy become an item? Or simply remain platonic friends? You'll just have to watch the film and find out. I will say there's a bit of a surprise twist that you probably won't expect. You also find out how old Murphy really is. Now look, films like this could be made today, but they wouldn't work as well, simply because there isn't an acting equivalent of Sally Field and James Garner. They're two bona fide movie stars, and this is why you need to do yourself a favor and not worry about seeing every new film that is released nowadays. Check out the films from the past you've never seen, or revisit the films that you haven't seen in a while. You're going to enjoy your media time a whole lot more. All right, some fun facts. So the film was nominated for 2 Oscars, but it lost both. James Garner was nominated for Best Actor, and he lost to William Hurt for Kiss of the Spider Woman. And then Best Cinematography lost out to Ada Africa. This was the only time James Garner was ever nominated for an Oscar. Columbia Pictures really wanted Marlon Brando for his quote-unquote box office allure, even though he hadn't been in a film since 1980. This film would have been a disaster with Brando, especially at this point in his career. Paul Newman was also considered, which makes sense since he would have fit the role much better than Brando, and he had worked with Sally Field on Absence of Malice. But again, James Garner was the character of Murphy. Now you might notice that the soda Coke is often mentioned in the film, and this wasn't by mistake. Columbia Pictures was owned by the Coca-Cola Corporation at the time. So the movie was filmed in Florence, Arizona, and that small downtown Main Street is still preserved to this day. So while Sally Field plays a character that is skilled in horse riding, she apparently had never ridden a horse a day in her life before this. And there was an article published in the January 1986 edition of Cosmopolitan magazine that reported that Field was challenged in portraying an expert horsewoman in this picture. Well, she pulled it off. All right, this is a bit of a spoiler, but I'll give it to you anyway. Sally Field said that her on-screen kiss with James Garner on the film was the best cinematic kiss she had ever experienced. There you go. All right, it is time for our guests. We have 2 special guests. It's a dynamic duo of Metal Mike Tyler and Bill Roseberry. Metal Mike definitely remembers this film from his childhood, but Bill had never seen it. So this is a nice yin and yang, so we get the veteran and the guy who we're going to get his fresh take on the film. And then I'll be back next week to talk about yet another film, and a random one from my DVD collection. Okay, we're back with the dynamic duo of Metal Mike Tyler and Bill Roseberry. Welcome back, boys.
Thanks for having us, Brian. It's an honor.
What's going on?
This is a fun one because Bill had never seen this movie before. Mike, on the other hand, I had originally scheduled with him because he's kind of a connoisseur of all things 80s movies. So it's nice to have this little kind of introduction for Bill and then, a revisit for Mike. So we'll start with Mike. Did you see this in the theater when it first came out, or was this kind of
not.
A cable video?
I think it was a cable. My mom and dad might have rented it because both of them were, well, my dad just was in love with Sally Field, but hell, who wasn't,
Sure.
And my mom and dad both love James Garner, so they were, naturally they're going to be attracted. And it was just one of the times where I would watch a lot of movies with my parents. I wasn't even as a teenager, man, I was never like some teenagers would be embarrassed by their parents or they were too cool for their I was like, fuck it, let's watch a movie, man, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, so I watched it with him, and I mean, it's just a good old movie, man. It's just a really good movie. And the cool thing about it is there's an emotional attachment to it for me now because of my mother, you know, and who I lost a few years ago. So, you know, yeah, it's a cool flick, man. And Bill, he was like, I don't think I ever heard of it, man. So it's like, well, you can watch it with me if you want. And here we are.
That's good. So, you know, again, I was telling Bill when we were kind of taking a break, you know, films like this just aren't made anymore. And it's a shame because in a way it sort of makes sense because there are simply no more movie stars like in the past. So you think about this is a very basic plot, but you personally, your parents checked out this film because of the two main stars. You had Sally Field and James Garner. They had a legacy where you would simply go give a film a shot because they were in it. And so I'm assuming that was the initial draw. I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but you know, when they first saw the film, I think they were like, okay, well, who knows? But at least they're in this. Let's check this out.
Sure. And at that time, you know, it's the beginning of video rentals during that, you know, so it was very common. And also we had cable. By the time I think like junior high, we finally got cable, which was a huge deal. And that's how a lot of films that probably, I mean, I don't really know how much money Murphy's Romance did. I'd never heard of it before I'd seen it on I'm pretty sure it was cable. It might have been VHS. But it's like those movies like Eddie and the Cruisers. It became a cult film because of cable.
Yep.
And the same thing with Somewhere in Time, which is another one of my mother's favorite films, you know. So, yeah, you got these little movies that sometimes – you know, sometimes it takes a while for a film to find its niche or its audience, man. Blade Runner's another example. Guess what, folks? Blade Runner was not a huge box office hit when it come out. It was not. I was there, you know, but over years it's got to where, oh my God, it's a sci-fi classic now. That happens sometimes with films. Sometimes Walt Disney with Fantasia, that didn't make a lot of money when it came out because people just didn't get it at the time. They're like, what is this? You know, now it's considered one of his best. So
sure. And Murphy's Romance actually did pretty well because these types of movies weren't expensive to make. I mean, it's not an action film. And so it made over $30 million and it was in the top 30 of films.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Bill, like, I'm assuming this was, even though Mike had recommended it and you trust Mike's judgment, I'm assuming. But just hearing about the stars, I'm sure you were it probably piqued your interest.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, I like Sally Field and I like James Garner. Before I get into that, just looking, I got my IMDb up here on the computer, and I didn't realize that James Garner was nominated for Best Actor for that role.
That's right.
6 Oscars, and then it was up for Best Cinematography, and then him and Sally Field were both nominated for Golden Globes that year too. So it was a pretty acclaimed movie. I was 9 when it came out, so probably why it kind of
maybe went past your radar.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm surprised my parents didn't rent this, but Sally Field, obviously, you know, for me growing up, Smokey and the Bandit, come on, you know, Forrest Gump. I mean, those were the things for me, but she's done so much more than that. So I just watched right before this because I've been on I watched the Arnold documentary on Netflix, and I've been watching FUBAR, and I've been all about Arnold here lately because I love Arnold. And so I went back and I watched Stay Hungry. I had never seen it. And she was great in that. That was right at the beginning. That might have been about the first thing she ever did.
Well, she was in the Flying Nun TV show, but you're right. She didn't just play Gidget, but yeah.
Yeah, she was a TV star. She hadn't really done a lot of films.
Was she?
That's right.
Was the Flying Nun, or she was Gidget, right?
She was Gidget and the Flying Nun. She did both.
I watched Gidget when I was a kid too. I remember watching that on TV, and then you know in reruns and syndication. And then for James Garner, I think for me, probably my big introduction to James Garner was when I was a kid. Loved The Great Escape. You know, I watched all the time. Now, my favorite character in The Great Escape is Steve McQueen. I mean, you know, Steve McQueen's so badass. I can't get enough Steve McQueen, but James Garner was cool too, and he was great in that. And then I'd watch Rockford Files when I was a kid.
That rerun,
I always have had a soft spot for James Garner. And it's like, Brian, you and I were just talking in conversation. He could be super laid back and just cool and nice, or he could have like that twinkle in his eye, or he could turn into being a tough guy where man, I don't know if I want to fuck with this guy. He might mess me up, because he was a pretty good sized guy. And then he had like that kind of rugged sexiness about him too, kind of like Tom Selleck. Like
exactly.
There's a pretty good comparison there. I never really thought about it, but he did all that stuff in Murphy's Romance. I mean, he was great. He was the movie. I mean, Murphy was really neat in that.
He had the natural likability. He was a hard worker, and he had that kind of wisdom that she was looking for. Mike, I'm assuming, were you introduced through Rockford Files, or was it before that for Garner?
Rockford Files, and my grandma loved old westerns and even old West TV shows. Maverick. Maverick, he was Maverick. And I always thought that was so cool. Like when they did the film with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster. And the whole time I'm going, oh, that's really cool that he's in it, but he's playing a different character. And then you find out later he is Maverick. He's, Mel Gibson's dad. I love that, because it's like, my pappy said, I never told you that. And he dunks him in the bathtub, which I thought was actually a really funny film. I like that movie. I just think he was just so natural, James Garner was, and I kind of gravitate more towards those type of actors. Don't get me wrong. I'm impressed with, your Daniel Day-Lewis's and those guys. Those guys are amazing and they're brilliant actors. But I like your guys that are more like your Jack Nicholsons, Humphrey Bogarts, James Garner, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne kind of guys.
Yep.
The guys that are still convincing in their roles. Joseph Cotton's another one I like a lot.
Sure.
Guys like that,
They're so
Arnold.
Arnold. Well, hell yeah, Arnold.
Yeah. But they're so good.
Saying.
They're so good that you don't even feel like they're acting. And I think that's
right. They're so natural.
Yeah, I just watched Hercules in New York, and I definitely felt like I wasn't acting in that.
He was known as Arnold Strong back then.
Right.
But seriously, I mean, that's how John Wayne was kind of labeled. But I think that's he was underrated as an actor because they thought he wasn't really acting, and that's actually not true at all. And I think nobody really does that for Garner. But I think it's really cool where you have certain actors like him, where some people know him as Maverick, other people know him as Rockford. Some people might even think of him from Grumpy Old Men. Again, you have like Burgess Meredith, who some knew him in the 30s. Other people knew him as the Penguin. Then other people knew him as Mick from Rocky. So I mean, people that can last that long, it's pretty awesome. Going back to
Chuck's gonna take the skin boat to Tuna Town. That's what I know. I was gonna say something about like a guy like a James Garner or John Wayne or anything. We talk about it at work all the time with training all these people that we got to go to and trying to build a relationship with them to kind of get them to be able to come to us with questions and make them feel comfortable as they're starting their new job. And one of the things we talk about all the time is authenticity. Yeah. Authenticity builds trust with people, and it makes people gravitate towards you and like you. That's something that those guys have. James Garner had that authenticity.
That's
very much so. Yeah,
exactly. For me, the draw to this film, and Mike's parents, I was introduced because my parents loved this film, and I always kind of gravitated to what they recommended. I think that's what's good. That's who turned me into the film fan that I am. And I think the draw to this film is the dialogue, because it's just, again, you were saying, the authenticity, the human interaction between Emma and Murphy. The entire film just feels natural, and I think that's why it bears repeat viewing. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I would say so. Just very like the character he plays is very likable. And I think part of it's just because he is likable anyway. Like I said, he's so natural in the roles that he plays, I mean, he's quite a character. He's got a code of honor, and but he can be really stubborn sometimes, like the whole parking thing was hilarious.
That was
the car.
Right, but he always seems to find a way to get his way, Always. And you can see why he's so well liked in the town, and everybody loves Murphy, man. I mean, look how they all showed up for his birthday party, man.
That's right.
And then you find out more about him from his friends and stuff, and the fact that he was married and like brokenhearted, devastated when she died and everything. And it's just a really cool film. And at first, she's all like wanting his help, and he's all like, "Look, I don't know you."
Yeah.
He's all like,
but you're rooting for Emma too, because she is a hard worker. She's starting from nothing. She's trying to rebuild her life with a kid.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's going through a really, really hard time in life. Like you said, she's starting over. She's trying to start her own business, and it's just really cool how he handles it, because he doesn't loan her money, but he buys that horse and says, "Well, I'm going to stable her at your place, and I'm going to pay you to take care of her and do what you do." And then word of mouth, man. Next thing you know, her business is booming.
Exactly. And like you said, he's so well respected in the community. It's like getting that seal of approval was enough. Bill, so you're watching this with fresh eyes. How do you feel? How are you feeling watching this? Are you like kind of like, I wish I had seen this before, or were you like,
No, I would have seen it before. And I mean, I liked Murphy because he had like that code of honor, and he just he had that edge to him. He'd stick up for himself and he'd fight, and he some feistiness to him. But like, there was that time that they were playing cards, and Bobby Jack was dealing with Bobby Jack, and he goes, "Can we step outside and talk?" And he says something to him about it, and he calls him out, but he didn't call him out in front of Emma and Jake,
That's right.
And then later on, when Jake tells Murphy, which was Corey Haim, the son, Jake says, "I saw Dad cheating at cards or whatever," and then Murphy's like, "Well, then you need to make a decision now, son. Do you want to follow in his footsteps, or do you want to be different?" He kind of tested their character a little bit, and in a good way. I mean, he made them kind of look inwards at themselves. I think he did the same thing with Emma, with the whole thing with starting her business, and that was a cool characteristic of him. He even did it to Bobby Jack a little bit too, but Bobby Jack was just a putz.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't going to figure things out, but I mean, I guess he was trying in his own way, but he was just an idiot. But
I love that you brought that up, because it really, that's the deal with people. Like, he wasn't lecturing. He presented this argument, not even an argument. He presented this scenario, and it's up to you to figure it out. Now, he's laying it out for you, but he's not going to push you one way or the other. And I think that's
judgmental, and those type of people are people that you gravitate towards, because
that's right.
Nobody likes people pointing fingers and bossing you around and being judgmental and little snide comments that, it gets on your nerves, I mean,
no doubt.
I got a gal I worked with the other day. We're salaried employees, and she's decided one day she wanted to come in she was coming in earlier in the day. She was coming, and we haven't had anybody to train. I'm working on some projects. I came in later in the day, but I stay later than her. So what's it matter? And she made some comment. I was sitting there doing my work, and she was talking to a maintenance guy who was in there. She's like, "I'm going to quit coming in so early. Nobody else comes in that early." And I stopped what I was doing. I turned around. I looked at her, I go, "It doesn't matter. Who cares?" I'm like, "I'm going to work later than you. It doesn't matter what time I work. Just do your job and don't worry about it."
Yeah, you're not my boss. Don't fucking worry about what I do. Man, I hate that shit.
Yeah. And Murphy wouldn't be like that at all. Murphy just be like, he might just say I'm coming in late every day and then leaving early every day. Maybe he'd be like, "Hey, you know what? I've noticed you've been coming in late and leaving early. Do you think that's a good idea? It might bring up a bad, might put you in a bad spot in the eyes of the boss. I'm just saying, it's something to think about." And then he'd never bring it up again, and he'd walk away.
That's right.
And he'd make you start looking at yourself and be like, "Yeah, maybe I should, do a little bit better here." I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just the way he presented things to people was really cool. I think a lot of people could take a lot out of a character.
Sure.
Like that.
Well, I love the part where he calls him out about Bobby Jack about the cards, and he goes,
"Yep.
Well, what do we say in front of the boy? Tell him we had a pissing contest and you won."
Yeah, there you go. You won. Right?
I mean, there's a lot of funny parts in the movie, man.
There are.
Like when they're fighting over her dancing, they keep going back and forth. Finally, she's like, "Wait a minute, why don't you guys dance with each other?" And I got to give Bobby Jack credit, because he's like, "Care to?" Murphy's like,
"That was hilarious.
All right, I'll leave." Blah blah. They start. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I didn't see that coming at all. That was great.
It's almost like Bobby even liked Murphy in spite of himself.
He did.
He was jealous of him, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
but it was like he you couldn't help but you just can't help but like Murphy, man, because he's cool.
That's right. Well, and as Bill was saying, he plants seeds and then he walks away. We'll steer to the one child in this film, and it's Corey Haim, who I think he often gets overlooked for his pre-Corey Feldman films, but he was in a lot of good films where he played the son of someone. How did you feel about him? Basically being the only kid in this film.
I thought he did a fine job. I've always thought Corey was a good actor. I mean, he was good in Firstborn too.
Yeah. Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet. Yeah. So, I've always liked Corey, man. And what happened to him it's tragedy. It's really sad,
Yep. And Lucas.
But, yeah. Which, we talked about that.
We talked about that. Yep.
So yeah, I thought he did just fine, I thought everybody in the movie was really good. Even the guy who plays her ex, man, because Bobby's not a bad guy, but he needs to grow the fuck up. He's a fuck up.
Right.
Yeah. He's a fuck up, man. And but my favorite part, hands down, is when he confronts Murphy at the party that they're having, and they're going, "Oh, still at it, Dad? Yeah, still at it, son." And they're going back and forth with that. And he goes, "Can we sever this father-son relationship? I'm not your pa. I wouldn't be too happy if I were." And of course, he confronts him about the possibility of him having relations with Emma, and of course, he keeps pushing it, Murphy's trying to be cool and just like, well, I wouldn't be taking that up with you even. Well, I'm taking it up with you. And then he just goes, you really are a miserable little son of a bitch. You know that? I don't know why she took you in. I'd have bed you down with the dogs. I'll tell you something else, mister. You're about to get your ass kicked from here to the state line. And I'm wearing the boots that can do it. And he's like, you're a feisty old fart. And he goes, I thought we already discussed that. And that's what I love about Murphy, man. He ain't confrontational unless you push him. But if you push him, he will push you back.
Yeah. Right, he's like the type of guy who wouldn't start it, but he'd damn well finish it.
Right, well, I kind of skipped a line because there was that one part. He goes, you might be younger and stronger, but you're about to get your ass kicked from here to the state line.
That's right.
I'm wearing the boots that can do it.
So we'll wrap up here. So, Bill, I mean, would you rewatch this movie, or is this a one and done for you?
I'd rewatch it again down the road. I don't know if it's something that I'd add to my collection or not, but I definitely rewatch it down the road, and I'd recommend it to somebody if they're looking for a slice of life movie. And like that line that Mike just said, I mean, there's ways that I always talk about, like Gone with the Wind, that would be a perfect example. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. How that line would be, fuck you, you fucking bitch, fuck off.
Exactly.
You can do something a little bit classier. And that was that line that Murphy just had with Bobby Jack. He didn't look at him and say, I'm going to fuck you up. He said it with class. And there's ways that you can do that. And sometimes that's refreshing to watch that in some movies. And you don't get that a lot with new movies today. I mean, they just,
well, the scripts are terrible.
Yeah,
like the dialogue.
We just recorded for one of my favorite guys with dialogue and everything.
Yeah.
And fuck is one of his favorite words, talking about Quentin Tarantino. I like that stuff too, but every now and then it's refreshing to see there's a lot. You can say a lot and have a lot of character in the way a movie's portrayed and have a little class to it by not cursing. Humphrey Bogart was a perfect example of that. I mean, he gave lines out. That was one of the things I think I kind of respected about this movie is the way Murphy would say things. He just said things with a little bit of class and culture.
Respect. I totally think it's lazy screenwriting now. You can get again, this is the example I use all the time. In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there is no swearing in the film until the funniest scene in the film, and the reason it works is because there was no swearing. But when you do it, it's absolutely perfection. So
yeah, that's a great example, Brian. I mean that is that line right there when Steve Martin's going off on her is so hilarious. Well, it's the same thing with the Clark Griswold meltdowns in Vacation and Christmas Vacation. I mean,
exactly.
He just loses it and goes off, and it's hilarious because the rest of the movie hasn't been like that. You know, I mean, you look forward to that. It's like a Metal Mike meltdown, right?
Less is more.
Well, you know, it kind of reminded me of something. You mentioned Gone with the Wind, and frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I kind of had a similar moment in my life where an ex of mine who did me really wrong, the thing that should not be is what I call her. And the only reason why I'm bringing her up is because, you know, a few months went down and I guess she realized that the grass indeed was not greener on the other side. And she tried to reach out to me through her daughter, my stepdaughter. And so I get these screen caps from my stepdaughter, Destiny, and it's all her basically begging her for my phone number. And Destiny's like, I ain't giving you his phone number. What are you, on crack? No way, you know. But one of the funny things about it is when I first saw it, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. This can't, you know. And I made a joke about, because I just joined that metal station, right? And I had said, well, if she wants to hear my voice, you know, she said something about missing my voice. I said, she can listen to me on that metalstation.com. And I meant that as a joke, right? Well, Destiny tells her that. Next thing I know, she's acting all excited. And, oh, my God, that's so awesome. Is he a DJ? And, you know, tell him, you give him my number and tell him to call me. And then she's like, and my response after that was like, first of all, I was just joking about the radio station. I said, second of all, you can tell your mother from me that she must have me confused with someone who still gives a fuck. A little bit more updated. You know, I'm using the F word, so not as sophisticated as Clark.
No, you're not sophisticated, Mike.
I'm not sophisticated at all. You know, I can be when I want to be, but
you're the reason the South lost the war, Mike. Good job. So.
Hey, man, you know, somebody had to do it.
Well, again, guys, you guys are always terrific. I'm glad we got to introduce this film to Bill, and I'm glad I got to bring it back into Mike's life. So again, thank you guys for doing this.
No problem, man. Thank you for having him.
If you are ever in the San Francisco Bay Area and still love collecting or renting DVDs or VHS tapes, come check out Captain Video in San Mateo at 2837 South El Camino Real. Captain Video is open 6 days a week and closed on Wednesday, and one of the last traditional video stores still running in the United States. New movies you can rent for $2.99 a day. Old movies you can rent for $2.99 for 5 days. And if renting isn't your thing, you can also purchase anything you find in the store. Be sure to tell Ira that you heard about Captain Video from the Damn Good Movie Memories podcast. Happy renting and happy collecting at Captain Video.
Come hang out and chill with Brian A. Davis and the Bad Beat. Wednesdays, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on thatmetalstation.com.